Do you remember Sunbird and Beeper that I talked about a few times before? You know, the ones that bring iMessage to Android? I'll put a link above to the comparison between the two. But in a sad, tragic twist of events, the almost real dream of iMessage on Android is practically over. Between Apple's interference and Sunbird's ineptitude, things have been bad for the iMessage on Android movement. Let's talk about it.
It was all a dream.
I'm going to start by saying that I have used both Beeper and Sunbird in beta before they officially released. Hell, I even used Sunbird in alpha. And while using them, I was able to easily and efficiently send iMessages from my Android devices to my iPhone family and friends, and they never knew the difference unless I told them. And everything was all hunky-dory. However, within the last month or so, things took an ugly couple of turns. I'm going to start off with the turn of events with Sunbird. You see, Sunbird took the messaging world by storm when it first announced its iMessage on Android alternative. You can Google and see the articles from various sources talking about it and how it worked. Now, Sunbird was disrupting things, so it made sense for another disruptor like the company Nothing to team up with Sunbird to bring good things to the mobile landscape. And team up they did. The two companies collaborated on Nothing's Nothing Chats app, a really tongue-twisting name to say. See, Nothing built on top of what Sunbird had already built to create its own custom messaging app. Oh, why is this collaboration important, you ask? Well, Nothing announced it was officially bringing iMessage to Android with its Nothing Chats app. The company built its messaging app and touted that it was safe, end-to-end encrypted, etc. The truth is, it wasn't. And that truth came out shortly after Nothing and Sunbird's collaboration was announced. You see, an X, formerly known as Twitter, I hate the new name, an X user by the name of Wuko exposed that all media gets sent over to Sentry. The bad thing about that is, the links to that media is all stored as pure plain text. If you don't know why that's a bad thing, let me tell you. This is bad because there is nothing protecting those links from nefarious parties if they want to steal them and access your media via those links. Media like pictures of your family, your newborn, or maybe some super spicy pictures. Look, I don't judge what you do with your personal devices, okay? But Nothing Chats, which was built on top of Sunbird's framework, was leaving users literally exposed. Now, to their credit, Sunbird did say that they do not store anything on their servers. And this is still true, but they store data via Firebase's servers. And Firebase isn't encrypted. So at no point ever were users' precious messages ever secured or encrypted. And it's sad because Sunbird could have changed the way messaging between Android and iOS worked. End-to-end encryption for every message would have been a reality. And you may be wondering, why can't everyone just download WhatsApp or Signal? The simple answer is having iPhone users download a separate messaging app like Signal is like pulling teeth. Many iPhone users just don't or won't do it. And yes, this is mostly a United States problem. Here, iPhones are dominant. And because of that, iPhone users aren't keen on downloading a separate app. They'd rather persuade or bully you into getting an iPhone. But at the end of the day, Sunbird found an easy way to store these messages, but didn't go the extra mile to make sure that they were secured. And I'll put links below covering this whole Sunbird fiasco. And as of this writing, Sunbird has shut down indefinitely, according to a couple of articles I've read. Now, Beeper, on the other hand, hasn't run into any privacy or security problems yet, and hopefully they never do. Beeper already had one solution that worked well. It had Max that worked as a bridge between the Android user and the iPhone user. The Beeper app took the message, sent it to the Mac, and then to the iPhone user. Now, the company says that they make sure things are end-to-end encrypted and that they can't see anything that is sent. And so far, this has all worked well, but Beeper wanted to take things to the next level. And they sure did. Beeper released Beeper Mini in the beginning of December and changed messaging between Android and iPhone. Now, not only could Android users send iMessages, but they could send iMessages to iPhone users via their own phone numbers. The Android user's phone number, obviously. With the legacy app, now called Beeper Cloud, Android users had to use their Apple ID email as their iMessage alias. But Beeper Mini found a way to let users use their phone numbers as an alias as well. Beeper somehow reverse engineered the way iMessage works in order to bring native iMessage support to Android. This means that every message sent from an Android device went directly to Apple's iMessages server and then to the iPhone recipient. There was no Mac bridge that received the messages first. It was legit iMessage on Android with no workaround or black magic. But right on cue, here comes Apple with a way to break Beeper Mini. And I want to stress that Apple isn't wrong in wanting to protect this iMessage service. iMessage is closed source and has been built and maintained by Apple for years. So Apple has the right to 100% shut Beeper out, but it still sucks. Beeper Mini lasted for maybe a week before Apple found a way to nerf it. But then Beeper found a way to fix it. And after that, it became a cat and mouse game of Apple breaking Beeper Mini and Beeper finding a way to fix it. This story brought a lot of attention to how interoperability should work. Both iPhone users and Android users were using the exact same messaging platform with no hiccups. But Apple, in its focus on maintaining its walled garden, found a way to break that up. What's kind of funny is that Apple's reason for continuously shutting down Beeper Mini was due to security and privacy concerns, which is a valid reason. However, by keeping Beeper Mini shut down, Apple effectively is forcing its users to communicate via SMS when it comes to messaging Android users. SMS is completely unencrypted and susceptible to privacy nightmares. Now, after going back and forth with Apple and having its attempts thwarted multiple times, Beeper is down to one last attempt before it gives up. What started off as a simple app download has turned to a circus act. Android users now need a Mac or jailbroken iPhone in order to get iMessage working, which is a lot for users who aren't exactly dedicated to Apple. Yeah, some Android users have Macs, but for those who don't, there is no reason whatsoever to go through this many hoops to get iMessage working again. Beeper said that if this last attempt doesn't work, they will have to give up on the cat and mouse game between Apple and itself. It's pretty hard to compete with the trillion-dollar behemoth that is the iPhone maker. And as a result, Beeper will take a step away from the back and forth and focus on making the best chat app on earth. This has always been the company's goal. But it looks like iMessage may not be a part of the best chat app on earth. And at the moment, Beeper Mini and Beeper Cloud are both still up for download. Many users who aren't US citizens are probably wondering why iMessage on Android is a big deal. Why won't users just download Signal or Telegram? As I said earlier, it is a chore to get iPhone users to download a completely separate messaging app because it is super convenient using the Apple Messages app and iMessage. It's the default messaging app. And there are more iPhone users here in the US. Oh, and it's also secure. Now here's a good example. I switch my phones pretty regularly, which I'm pretty sure you can tell. During the times when I'm using an Android device as my daily driver, I've attempted to get my wife to download Telegram and Signal. She downloaded them both at 2 different times, but never used them to message me because all of our message history was already in the Apple Messages app. I even attempted to use the Verizon Messages Plus app that she uses to write her friend. But again, she defaults to using the Apple Messages app and iMessage to contact me. It's hard to break the habit of going into the default messaging app and sending a message to someone who you've already been in communication with. This is the same even on Android. When I worked at Verizon, I had customers who didn't even know about Google Messages, didn't know what it was, unless it was the default messaging app set on their device. Now, because most users here use Samsung whenever they have an Android device, the result is that most people only know about the Samsung Messages app because it's the default. They don't even know there are other messaging apps out there like Hanson. And again, as I said before, convenience is key. These 2 apps tackle the task of bringing iMessage to Android to help build an easier, more interoperable messaging world. But due to Sunbird's negligence and Beeper's battle with Apple, it looks like that dream is over. But it was a fun ride while it lasted. It was definitely fun catfishing iPhone users. Okay, let's wrap this up. If you made it this far, go ahead and hit those like and subscribe buttons and turn on upload notifications so you know when I upload a new video. This helps me continue to build this channel so I can make it bigger and better. Also, I will have links to everything I talked about down in the comment section below. Also, while you're at it, let me know how you like this type of content. Kind of just an update on the things that are going on in the tech world. If you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. That way I can curate my videos to you guys' taste. And don't forget to check out these videos floating on either side of my head. Now, this has been Normal Consumer, and I'll catch you on the next one.